Welcome back to the Phantom Gourmet. There are certainly plenty of Italian restaurants in the city of Boston, but there's no other restaurateur quite like this guy. Nick Varano is the man behind a few of the Phantom Gourmet's favorite eateries, and his restaurants just keep getting better. It's the greatest Italian saga since the Godfather trilogy. Part 1 was Strega on Hanover Street in the North End. Part 2 was Nico right up the road. And finally, there's Part 3, Strega Waterfront at Fan Pier in Boston's Seaport District. But unlike the Godfather, the third installment may be the best.
It's about making people feel good. It's about amazing real Italian food. You know, a lot of my customers that have come in compare it to dining out in Italy. They almost feel like they're back there for those 2-3 hours they spend in Strega.
Boston businessman and restaurateur Nick Varano knows a good bet when he sees it, so he couldn't refuse bringing a taste of the old neighborhood to the newest dining destination in the city.
I gotta tell you, Strega in the North End is my baby. It's where I started. It's in the greatest neighborhood, surrounded by the greatest people in the greatest city. Strega Waterfront brings you the same food, the availability of having bigger parties, more functions, more seats, on the waterfront, easier access to park, it's easy to get to, and you got the view. The ambiance and the atmosphere in here, I believe, is second to none in the city.
Strega Waterfront is decked out with rows of celebrity photographs, a horseshoe-shaped bar, a Las Vegas-style lounge with high-tech video walls, a beautiful space for private dining, a 1,500-bottle wine list, and a shimmering archway that leads right to the water views. The food is just right, the atmosphere is just perfect, and like Nicky always says, the Varano Group is just getting started. And here he is, the man behind Strega, Nico, and Strega Waterfront, Nick Varano. What's happening, Nicky?
Hey, Danny, how are you, pal?
Doing great, my friend. Of course, you had Strega on Hanover Street in the North End. You still have it, but then you decided, I'm going to do a kind of bigger, splashier on the waterfront. What drew you to the Boston waterfront?
I just, what the city and the developers doing down there on the waterfront, I really believe it's going to be new Boston. It's just an amazing opportunity, and we've been blessed.
Yeah, and you know, it's funny because you guys were there before, like a million other restaurants have now come, so it kind of is the place to be. Now, let's talk about some of the food at the Strega Waterfront, of course. Now, I'm a man I've had a few meatballs in my life. I like to sample a meatball here and there. I must say, honestly, the meatballs at Strega, not only are they big, but they're about as good as I've found just about anywhere. So can you give me any of the kind of secrets or tell me about your meatballs?
I'm going to be honest with you. I can't tell you the secrets,
all
obviously.
Right,
I mean, that don't make any sense, Dan. But I will tell you that they're almost as good as everybody's moms at home.
Right, almost.
You know, and I give them a guarantee, like I do with everything else. If they don't like it, I'll eat it. They're that good. We use the finest ingredients. Sal in the kitchen makes them. We have a fresh ricotta on the side with them. Just put a little meatball with the ricotta. It's out of this world.
But when you bite into a meatball, all right, just you personally, what are you looking for, you know, in a meatball? What are the flavors? What experience? What memories do you want to have?
Honestly, to me, it's a good point. The memories is really what it comes back to.
Right.
When I was a kid, I got to be honest with you, I've eaten a few meatballs.
You have.
And it comes back to what, my mother would do on Sundays in our house. But in my case, my mother did it 3-4 days a week.
Right, exactly.
The fresh meatballs cooking on the stove and the sauce bubbling up, and it's just great.
They are. They're beautiful. Now, of course, when you're on the waterfront like you are at the new Strega, you have a lot of seafood on the menu, not on the entrees and on the pastas. Now, you have a dish. It's basically a twist on a linguine with clams, and that's kind of like a classic
It's actually
dish.
vongole.
Vongole, excuse me. All right, linguine vongole.
That's right.
All right,
perfect.
there we go.
Linguine and clams. It's one of our signature dishes that we do down there on the waterfront, and we also do it at Nico and Strega in the North End. And it's just simply incredible. You taste the fresh pasta, you taste the ocean with the clams. It's out of this world.
Oh, it reminds me of Fast Times at Ridgemont High when Damone says the lady will have the linguine with clam sauce and a Coke with no ice.
Yes,
which is one of my favorite memories.
Absolutely.
Of growing up. You have your mom making meatballs. Yeah. I have Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Those are
very similar.
Exactly. Yeah. It's all about food and family. Yeah. Now, I think the high ticket item at Strega Waterfront, you go in there. You have a lot of stuff that you can break the bank if you want to. You can eat cheap at the bar if you want to. Yeah. But I want to go for a veal chop. Like that to me is kind of the king of all dishes, I think.
Yeah. A lot of customers come in and say, because they've seen our stuff in the past, and I always say the veal chop's to die for.
Right.
Right? And it really is my favorite dish. I mean, the veal chop is just the way Sal does it in the kitchen. It really is simply to die for. It's something that when you eat it, You're gonna love it. There is no coming back and saying any. I mean, it is that good.
Yeah,
believe me.
and if I don't like it, you'll eat it, I assume.
No question.
Yeah, that's the guarantee.
No question.
All right, so let's move on to dessert, because I doubt a lot of people, if they have a veal chop, they probably don't get to dessert. I don't even know how many desserts you sell, because you have pretty big portions at Strega. But listen, you have the tiramisu. Yeah. Tiramisu for me is like a hit or miss. Some places get it good. Some places it goes horribly wrong. Yeah. It's always consistently very, very good at Strega.
Well, I got to tell you, growing up in the North End and having the best pastry shops, in my opinion, in the country, in the North End, you have to make good pastry when we make it. And one of our signature dishes that we make is that tiramisu. And it really is incredible to watch Sal make it. And the taste is out of this world. It's just something that when you're eating it, you want 1 bite, 2 bites, 3 bites, and you end up finishing the whole thing. You never want to share.
Well, that's the thing. It has that combination of, like, it's very light, but then it's also kind of creamy.
Got the espresso in it.
Yeah, it's good. If you want to try any of this stuff, everybody, you got to go in and see my man Nick Varano, Strega Waterfront. They're at 1 Marina Park Drive on the Boston waterfront. And, of course, the original Strega, 379 Hanover Street in the North End.